Hello everyone. So, yesterday myself and one of my co-moderators received a message from a user on Reddit who claimed to have access to the very early editions of Mass Effect Andromeda. I won't disclose exactly how he or she has access because that could potentially compromise their identity, though what I will say is that he or she has supplied me and my co-moderator with what I would consider to be sufficient proof that they are who they say they are. With that in mind, however, I do ask that you take whatever I'm about to say to you with a grain of salt. I've not played any edition of Mass Effect Andromeda myself, and I've not had any in-game footage, images, or material supplied to me in any way, shape, or form. As an additional disclaimer, I would like to say that I'm not affiliated with EA BioWare in any capacity. I have absolutely no relationship with them, and for the most part, I'm just a guy who likes to play video games and make YouTube videos. Everything I've been told has been by word of mouth. There's been no hard evidence of anything to do with the game which has been shown to me. It's just been a text format. So, on that basis, I would also like to ask you that you don't get angry, excited, or disappointed with anything that you're about to hear. While I trust my source is legitimate, you should keep in mind that any information that I was provided may be embellished, misleading, or it could just be a straight-up lie. So, with those things in mind, let's get into what was shared with me. The first thing that was mentioned is that the game will be squad-based, like in the original trilogy. You'll play as the protagonist, and there'll be two squad mates which were described to me. One of your squad mates is a human, a petite, buxom blonde woman, and another is the Krogan that we saw in the E3 trailer. All three of the squads have jetpacks like you get in Titanfall, and you're able to use them to explore environments in depth. Again, something we saw briefly mentioned in the E3 trailer. In addition to jetpacks, your Omni tool is a lot more interactable and situationally useful in combat as well. You can, for instance, deploy a shield on your arm at the touch of a button. Weapons are pretty similar to the ones that we're used to, so there isn't really any major changes there. The environment itself isn't very noteworthy at the moment, and there wasn't really much said on it, but I do imagine this is largely to do with the fact that missing textures and that sort of thing are generally polished at a much later stage of development, from what I gather. A significant improvement and a main focal point is the quality of facial features and character models, though. I think what they're going to be going with is actually getting very distinguishable characters, and perhaps we'll see a bit of customization with character models rather than just having the default appearance and then the loyalty appearance. But again, this wasn't really confirmed to me either way. Anyway, from what I do know is that it's going to be a drastic improvement over the character models that we have seen in the previous games, which is to be expected really. Destructible cover exists as well, in a big way, which is something I think a lot of people will anticipate since Mass Effect Andromeda will be powered by the Frostbite engine, so we may actually see destructible environments rather than just a few boxes that you can shoot out. The main ship is a completely new design, and the layout is totally different to how we're used to seeing the Normandy looking, for example. Textures, NPCs, and details are currently absent, so there's not much to say on that, but there is a few distinctive features. For example, it's noted that there's balconies which show lower levels, and on one of these lower levels there's the Mako. The Mako is very similar to the one that we saw in the E3 trailer. It's actually very accurate the way they portrayed it there, and there's lots of cool looking textures for armor plating and exterior features, so we might be able to see some sort of customization there. My source didn't confirm it if it was customizable or not, but it did seem to be insinuated that that was the case. On the topic of customization, we're able to customize our characters' armor, helmets, gauntlets, and that sort of thing. None of the features were described, but the whole system seems to feel very similar to the previous games, in terms of customization at least. In addition to this, the ship has a section called Pathfinder Quarters. The main character you play is referred to as the Pathfinder, who is looking for a new home for the human race. The humans are not the only species, however, looking for a new home. There is other races which we've already met who are also looking for a new home. At least that's how it was mentioned. Ship navigation is drastically changed as well. You no longer just walk up to a main console and then zoom into a map and choose a destination. You actually fly the ship. So when you interact with the controls, the camera becomes a first-person view of the ship. You get a massive window and it sort of zooms out from there. You can then navigate around planets, which have markers and waypoints to guide you through them. And if you wish to go faster, then you can engage the FTL drive and rapidly travel towards your destination. So that's a really cool feature, I thought. Moving on to combat and lore. You play as the Pathfinder, as I already said, an N7 operative who's looking for a new home for the human race. It wasn't explained to me why humans are looking for a new home, just that they were, along with several other alien species. So whether that's because the Milky Way is uninhabitable, or if they just simply want to branch out, I really don't know. From the ship, you're able to conduct strike missions. There's a meeting room as well, which was mentioned, where you can interact with your squad, though it wasn't made clear if this was an interaction which is done in cutscenes like we've seen in previous games, or if it was a fully functional war room like in Dragon Age Inquisition. While in combat, you fight the enemies that were seen in the E3 trailer. These enemies are bipedal like we saw in the trailer, and they were described to me as a cross between Vorcha and Collectors. While I did ask for a name for this race, it wasn't shared with me. So whether that's because there isn't a name or it was something that was being withheld, I'm really not sure. However, one big twist which was told to me was that these non-human enemies dropped into combat from ships with a Cerberus insignia on them. Again, these are non-human enemies. They're alien enemies which look like a cross between Vorcha and Collectors, but they're dropping from Cerberus ships. And lastly, the antagonist. One of the antagonists you fight is a human soldier, with armor similar to yours, but it does lack the N7 branding. So the antagonist, from what I can gather, isn't the guy who we saw in the E3 trailer. It's not known who the character is that was being described, why he's there, or why he's hostile towards you. But you do get the option to spare him or kill him after defeating him. So to me that implied that Paragon and Renegade actions do exist in some form or another. So, that's all my source really had to say on the topic. As I said before, none of this is confirmed or proved by any hard evidence. The only proof that was supplied to me was that he is who he says he is, and I do believe that, and he likely does have access to Mass Effect Andromeda in its current form. I would like to remind you, though, that this should be treated as pure speculation and rumour at this point, due to the lack of evidence that suggests otherwise. I'm not sure if they're going to supply more information to me, or if it was just a one-time thing. But anyway, thanks for watching. Goodbye.